Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So as you can tell by the title, this is a bit of a different video. Usually I don't make tropical updates or hurricane videos, but in rare instances, or when we have such a large storm potential as we do currently with Hurricane Ida, I do make these videos occasionally, and that's why I want to kind of hop on today. By the way, I will be making a video separately kind of for the US pattern. Well, what may be going on. The European is favoring a pretty cold outbreak potentially in the long range, so I will be making a video about that. So 2 in total for today, but I want to talk about this because this is a life-threatening situation, and right off the bat I want to say that for official information, please go to the National Hurricane Center, National Weather Service. I am not certified by any means, and even if there are meteorologists that are certified, they do not hold a light compared to the National Hurricane Center. You should always use those as your #1 sources. Now, I do also want to say that this is a very unprecedented situation, like with a lot of tropical storms and hurricanes. So, the National Hurricane Center is your best source, but they may not be 100% accurate. And then that's not to diminish them and their credibility. This is rather to show you that these storms are unexpected, so it's always better to prepare for something a bit worse than what they're saying. And I'm not saying that because they show something that's usually a bit weaker or a better case scenario. It's just always better to be safe than sorry. And again, for your best information, the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center. If you live across Louisiana, portions of Alabama, Mississippi, and even Texas, especially Louisiana, please start preparing now. You do not have a lot of time. This storm moved quick, and it is now a hurricane. And the reason I'm making this video, again, is just to get as many people aware of this and redirect them for the best information to the National Hurricane Center, National Weather Service. For those that, watch my channel, I'm going to give my thoughts and kind of opinions on this. But again, don't make your plans based off what I say. Just please go to National Hurricane Center, National Weather Service. Notice there's the eye, or it would be an eye right there if it were to develop a bit more and intensify. However, it will go over Cuba, and that will weaken it just a bit. It's not a large chunk of land. Really, this was not expected to get to a hurricane status before Cuba, so it's already been strengthening really quickly. You can see that the convection is very, very profound, especially towards the northern side. Towards the southern side of the storm, notice there isn't much outflow going away from it, which is preventing it from becoming really a bit stronger and much quicker. So yeah, quite a good outflow you can see, but towards the south side of the storm there isn't that much activity going on, which indicates that the storm obviously isn't at its strongest, and it has a lot of time to get stronger. And let's take a look at the National Weather Service. First off, I want to show you what the forecast is for Louisiana, which is most likely where it will land, probably somewhere in the New Orleans National Weather Service office. Look at this wind threat, potential for 110 miles per hour. It's there, and it's a pretty good chance for that. Right now, the storm surge pretty high, 9 feet above ground. Again, a lot of these areas are at sea level, or even in some areas below, and the levees kind of keep that away. Again, 9 feet is kind of raising the sea level by 9 feet, so yeah, that's a lot, especially if this were to overlap with the high tide. That would be very dangerous. Tornado threat, not too high, but again, there always is one with a hurricane, so you have to keep that on your radar. So obviously, yes, if you live in the New Orleans area, the southeast, kind of Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi, Alabama, start preparing, especially obviously in the areas of New Orleans. I do want to show you now what the weather models are showing and how strong this could get. By the way, it is forecasted according to the National Weather Service and really the National Hurricane Center that by the time it reaches, let me show you this, by the time it reaches the Louisiana and Alabama area, potentially more likely Louisiana than Alabama, but you can still see there's a spread, it will be a Category 3, potentially almost a Category 4. Now, I want to show you something here really quickly. So let's go over the weather models of kind of the hurricane models and show you what this is. So notice this is a very zoomed in graphic, kind of what we were looking at the satellite. The current millibar pressure of this storm, Ida, is 987, so it's already much lower than what this model is showing, right? And it is also just east of this island, or just west, I don't know the name of this, and what that means is it will spend less time over land. So, you know, land, obviously hurricanes get weakened over land, but again, when it's such a small strip, you know, if we were to take the hurricane and drag it all across Cuba, that could go from a category, you know, 5 to a 1. That's how much land impacts hurricanes, obviously, but it's just a small strip. It may not even weaken by much. Notice, so it's already underperforming this weather model. It will, or this storm, it's already a 987, so it will probably be near category 2 strength, potentially, by tonight late, maybe tomorrow morning. And you can see this model does intensify it rather quickly nonetheless. And look at that. This is what's scary. This is a scenario that kind of makes the storm weaker than it already is, and it makes it at the end still a very, very, very bad storm, right? And notice that's a category 4, you know, maybe even category 5 according to this model, and it slams it right west of New Orleans. Now, here's the thing. Right now, the official guidance shows a major hurricane, which is already enough to, you know, start preparing. Just prepare like if it's a category 5. Category 4 is possible. And then for those folks wondering, category 5 at this point, I don't want to throw around that word, you know, category 5 hurricane, but if there were a storm this year to hit the US and it would be a category 5, this one would be it, because of, again, how fast it has intensified already over the warm waters and favorable conditions we'll be going over, and already how it's, yeah, again, just stronger than expected. So it could potentially reach category 5. I don't like saying that because it's, you know, oftentimes that's sensationalism, and a lot of people, you know, throw around that in titles when the storm barely just formed. But at this point, it's definitely a possibility, not a likelihood, but a major hurricane is a likelihood, which is, again, category 3 and above. So let's take a glance at what the National Hurricane Center shows. There are hurricane warnings for Cuba, and notice that it is centered right there as of 2 p.m. Friday. Again, if it takes a bit more towards the west, it's going to spend less time over land. Either way, it's probably, you know, going to intensify into a major hurricane and make landfall somewhere around late Sunday. I do want to say that, you know, if we're already at a major hurricane status by 8 p.m. Saturday, well then it's, you know, it's not going to start weakening. It's probably going to be stronger than expected. If by 8 a.m. Sunday and it's still just a category 1 hurricane, which again at this point seems very unlikely, but let's say it does hypothetically, then it will probably, you know, it won't go magically up to category 5, right? It'll probably get to maybe 2 or 3. But again, at this point, it's more likely that it will be a major hurricane a bit early, and it will then, yeah, you know, strengthen to a 4, maybe even a 5 category by the time it reaches Louisiana. Again, at this point, they're favoring a category 3, borderlining a 4. U.S. potential rainfall, 15 inches plus in isolated pockets. Definitely not out of the question. Some areas probably closer to 20 inches, but overall, it's a quicker moving storm. Still a lot of rain because of just how powerful this system is, but it's not a Hurricane Harvey type setup where, you know, it's just literally feet of water that, you know, if you recall, that happened across Houston. This one, it's a bit better in terms of the rainfall. Still, that could cause major flooding on top of with the storm surge, which with this storm is more likely the concern. You can see 7 to 11 feet. That's assuming that a category 3-ish, maybe a 4 hits a landfall. If it's a 5, obviously this will be much, much higher, or a strong category 4, right? Especially this overlaps with high tide. Yeah, so hopefully, you know, this is going to be almost, I think, exactly on the date of Hurricane Katrina in 2005, the anniversary. I think to the day, on the spot, is I think August 29th when it hit New Orleans. And this one is going to be on August 29th as well. So yeah, a coincidence that hopefully does, that, you know, doesn't fare as bad as the prior, you know, Katrina did. And with that one, you know, there's a lot of things that, it was a category 3, first of all, but by the time it hit the coast, and it was, there was, you know, it was the levees that really broke, and that's what kind of caused it. It was more of a technological failure on top of a big storm. Hopefully this time, you know, this storm probably will be stronger than Katrina when it makes a landfall. I do want to mention, look at the sea surface temperatures. That's why this storm will be so quick to intensify. It's here right now in Cuba, and it's already been intensifying really profoundly. By the time it reaches, you know, the warmest waters of really all of the Atlantic and Pacific in this viewing area, it will be very, very strong. And especially, you know, if it curves towards Texas, maybe a bit more, right? Then it has more time over that water and more time to intensify. I do want to show you those. I already showed you the spaghetti models. You could see they have decent kind of confidence that they'll be hitting Louisiana. Only one puts it in Alabama. Again, I would say favoring just west of New Orleans at this point. Hurricane intensity, you can see not a single one does show category 5. However, a lot of them do show category 4, and notice the ones that keep it weaker assume that it will make landfall a bit sooner, or they just don't see it intensifying as quick. And again, the longer it stays over water, the slower it goes, the more things work in its favor. It could, easily tip this, at least briefly, into the Category 5 status. Yesterday, there was barely any showing it into the Category 4. It was mainly across the 3. So definitely an intensification, especially with what's been going on right now. I mean, today I logged on and I was like, holy cats, this is already a hurricane. So again, here's our satellite imagery. Here is the storm surge I showed you. I just want to make sure I showed everything that I could. And here are a bunch of tools. Again, this is Tropical Tidbits, a great website, obviously, especially for hurricanes, but also, during all times of the year. It's a great website. And now I want to show you some more of the weather models. I do apologize, I haven't been showing them. I should have been a bit quicker with this. But notice, so that one showed it at 9:40 making landfall, right? Let's take a look at this one. This is now 2 p.m., so this is what it thinks it will be like. That's pretty good representation. It's a bit stronger than what this model shows. So again, that's already a concern. And notice that it keeps it, it only gets to 987 by 4 a.m. Saturday. Again, it's looking more and more likely that it will be a bit stronger a bit earlier on. So once, obviously if that happens, look at all that water it goes over. At this point, it could be 10 millibars lower already. It could be stronger. And if this continues going, look at this model. Even if it keeps it in a weaker scenario, it still takes it down to a horrendously low millibar reading. 940, 939. Again, I think that we could be seeing something in the 920s by the time it actually makes landfall. And obviously, if it, stays, if let's say it goes towards Texas, not Louisiana, spends more time over water, it gets even stronger. Again, this storm won't have any troubles in the environment is favorable. The warm waters are beyond its, kind of requirements to intensify. And yeah, just a really all-out bad scenario again for the Louisiana coast, the folks that got hit by one last year, Laura and Delta. I want to show you this storm. You could see this model, I meant to say. Notice, again, a bit weaker than it actually is in real life. This weather model portrays it. Notice 986, and it makes landfall today at 7 across Cuba. Then we keep moving this forward. Notice it starts developing a eye wall as soon as it really explodes off of Cuba. And notice that it goes through the Gulf and intensifies into a 939 right there, and it actually takes it pretty far to the west, almost really close to Laura's track, just a bit further towards the east, and right there, boom, that's the system. Let's take a look at some other models. The GFS, again, you know this model very well, and let's see what it shows. You can see 968, 955, and makes landfall right there. A powerful storm, not a 5 or a 4, more likely a 3 with the GFS, which still doesn't really matter. I've been using the categories quite a bit, but it's important not to get caught up on these categories. And a major hurricane is a major hurricane, and it will be potentially catastrophic nonetheless. The Canadian keeps it much weaker and doesn't really do much with this storm as much as other models, so its credibility is pretty low with this. It's already a 987 storm, and it's not. Yeah, the Canadian doesn't have a good handle over this. But I do think its track, is a possibility, just not at that strength. It'll be much stronger than that. So yeah, I showed you a lot of the weather models, the satellite imagery. Again, it's a powerful storm. You can see right there, area of circulation, just again approaching Cuba into tonight, into the evening hours. Definitely interesting to see what erupts out of this, and what category this gets, this storm. I want to show you a few more weather models, or actually, sorry, what I wanted to do was go back to Ida, and I want to see, what it showed yesterday. What was its prediction? So you could see how accurate or inaccurate this weather model was. And let's see what it showed. So this was yesterday's model run at midnight, and this is, actually, let's go back to 24 hours ago. And this is what it thought. Notice, that's not a hurricane. That's barely a that might not even be a tropical storm. And at this time, 4 right now it's 2. It's already a hurricane. So again, it's a continuous trend that these weather models are underestimating the strength of the storm, and it still developed it into a very powerful system. So it begs the question: if they're underestimating it now, did they correct themselves and now they're overestimating it, or are they still underestimating it even once it's already a hurricane? And could this mean that whatever they're showing is still a weaker version of the system? And I mean, a 938, 939, that's a powerful system, and it could be even stronger. So the message remains the same. These little itty bitty details, it doesn't really matter. Just prepare, because this is going to be bad either way you look at it. Let's take a look at a different model. Let's take a glance at this one and see what it showed at this time frame yesterday. And again, it was a much weaker system. Look, so where's Cuba? There it is. There's Cuba. It was approaching it at 989. So this one's actually a bit more realistic, a bit more similar to what is going on right now. Notice though, it didn't de-intensify it by quite a bit, and it was an overall weaker system, but definitely the early stages of this weather model were accurate. Hopefully you understand what I was trying to show you, that this storm is being underestimated by some of the weather models, and being underestimated, it's still more forecast to hit at a category 3 or a 4. So that's just the difference between a 4 and a 5. There is one, obviously, but it's not that much in terms of destruction and devastation. It will be bad nonetheless. So please stay prepared, or start preparing if you haven't already. And yeah, the flash flooding is going to be concerned. The winds are going to be bad, and this storm has potential to intensify very quickly and very suddenly. I want to show you a funny weather model, honestly, because this one, look how low it gets its millibar to, in the 800s. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be happening, but definitely a interesting model to look at, the NAM 3KM. It always does this with storms, intensifies them way too much. But yeah, don't get caught off guard by stuff like this. That's a outlier by a long shot. Now I do want to show you the European model, kind of the weather model that is always sorry about this. It's very often a accurate model, right? It comforts a lot of people with its accuracy, if you will. It doesn't show something extreme like the NAM 3KM does, but even this model shows a very, very powerful system. In fact, potentially more powerful than what the other models show. 939 millibars, again, very strong. It does weaken it a bit right before landfall, notice, to 949. But again, weakening is very relative here. It's still a category 3, bordering a 4 at that point. Again, we'll just have to wait and see. It does show it a bit weaker than what it is currently right now. Even once it exits Cuba, I think it will be already below a 980, not 994. So we'll have to see. Either way, it shows a very bad storm, and it's a reputable model, less likely to show something insane. So things are bad when that happens. And yeah, stay safe, guys. Really, go to the National Weather Service for your info. Go to the National Hurricane Center. And, the Weather Channel is a good resource. Stay tuned with them. They work with the National Hurricane Center on this stuff. They're going to be on 24/7 during this. That's, a definite. And, it's already raining in New Orleans, right? And you can see that the tropical storm conditions are a bit away. I mean, just dealing with the wet pattern kind of out ahead of this system. But yeah, I mean, hopefully I informed you guys. This video was a bit messy. I don't really do these videos usually, but I do want to show you that with the storm surge watch, they're being pretty straightforward, devastating to catastrophic impacts. So stay safe. There will be probably casualties, unfortunately, but if you act and evacuate, we could minimize that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all on the next episode.